Hello all and welcome to All Red. The Copa America and the Euros are finally over, and now we have some serious questions like, what would it look like if Liverpool Football Club did not sign a single player this summer? And so let's dive in to what the squad would look like if Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards and Arne Slot were to say, we're good to go as is, we'll reassess in January. So let's dive in to what our starting 11 and bench, our depth, would look like if we were not to sign anyone. Now, first and foremost, I think if we were not to sign anyone this summer, then we really wouldn't have a reason to sell anyone, which means the likes of Salah and Diaz are likely to stay. But we'll get to that in a minute, and I have some kind of crazy predictions here on our starting 11 if our squad were to stay the same as it is today. So first and foremost, of course, it's best in the world, Alisson Becker. We really don't need to talk about him there. Robertson on the left. I've heard a lot of people say that Andy Robertson is past his prime. Now, perhaps his prime, yes, but I don't think he's past starting at left back for Liverpool Football Club. I think he's still very good. I think he fits in with exactly what Arne Slot wants to do, and I think he's got at least 1 or 2 years left in the tank as a top left back in the Premier League. So he is my pick at left back. It's Virgil van Dijk, still our captain, anchoring that back line. Of course, he had a wonderful run in the Euro with his country mates Cody Gakpo and Gravenberch. I'm going to start Gerald Kwanzaa alongside of Van Dijk. I think he has more upside than Konate. I still think Konate is a very good player, but if it were up to me, I would want to see Kwanzaa start more Premier League games than Konate. Konate could be a good backup center back for either of these positions, but I think Kwanzaa has a little bit more control. I think he has a little bit more poise. I think he is just a little bit more set up for the future, and I'd like to see him get more reps than Konate. Okay, on the right, it is Trent Alexander-Arnold. I just can't get away from starting him in this position, and here's why. Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think, could play in the midfield, and I think he would do very good in the midfield. But when you look at our midfield options, we have a plethora, which means a lot, a plethora of midfielders who are going to, I think, struggle to have game time this season, barring injuries or setbacks. So I just feel like Trent Alexander-Arnold's abilities would be wasted in the midfield when we can have those abilities in the right back position and basically save those midfield positions for players. Not that Connor Bradley is a bad backup. He is an excellent backup. But I've got a plan, and I think it fits in perfectly with Arne Slot's structure, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. So Trent Alexander-Arnold is my right back. Well, who is in my midfield? Well, it's going to get a little crazy here, but I am starting Stefan Bajetic as my defensive midfielder. If this guy can stay healthy, that's a big if, I think he is the key to Liverpool's defensive midfielder position this season. Would I like to see them sign a world-class defensive midfielder? Of course, I would. But if they don't, I think Stefan Bajetic has the ability and capabilities to come in and be that. A guy that we have not had in our squad for largely the last 2 years. Well, he's still very, very young, and I think he still has a lot that he can give because this kid is he's only 19 years old. So he was playing in the first team as a 17-year-old, and hopefully now, his body was not done developing and growing and strengthening. Hopefully now, he has grown and matured and strengthened, and if he can come in and be healthy and get back to the level he was at as a 17-year-old and probably even get better than that, I think Liverpool have a world-class defensive midfielder on their hands. So I'm very excited for him. I'd love to see him get a lot of playing time this season if he is healthy. And alongside of him, I think Alexis McAllister makes a lot of sense in here. Now, Alexis McAllister is not a natural defensive midfielder, but we know that he can play that role, And we know that Arne Slot wants his everyone in any position. He wants versatile players. Alexis McAllister is that. He is a proven Premier League midfielder. He has proven that he can play in that defensive midfield slot. Now, when he was playing there last season, he was the sole defensive midfielder. Now he gets to play alongside of Stefan Bajetic, who is a much more natural defensive midfielder, and that is going to allow Alexis McAllister to press forward and to get up and in transition to go further forward, knowing that Stefan is behind him. So I think that's a very good, if Bajetic is healthy and if he is back at his levels that he was at and beyond 2 years ago, this is a very, very good midfielder. I think one of the best midfield pairs in the Premier League in that kind of defensive slot on the field. All right, this is where it gets crazy. Can you believe this? I am putting Mohamed Salah in that 8 role. Okay, Mohamed Salah is getting older, and if he is still on Liverpool's squad for this upcoming season, then I think he should play in this number 8 role. Salah is getting a little bit older. He has maybe lost a step or two, but this is a bad comparison. But think about Andre Pirlo, right? He played till he was like 7,000 years old. Obviously didn't have the pace, but he was still able to play at some of the highest levels because of his control and because of the way he played. I think that's Mohamed Salah. And in about 60 seconds here, you'll see why. I think this is going to be an important position for him to play. But first, I'm putting Dominic Szoboszlai in at the right winger position. This is his natural position. This is the position he plays for his country. And I know he didn't have the best Euro campaign, but I mean, Hungary is still a very up-and-coming national team squad. But Szoboszlai has the pace, the power, the skill set, and I think the goal-scoring abilities to play on that right wing and do a very good job of that. And so I would love to see Domi Schlobers kind of take over that right wing position as his own and really come into, being that next great winger for Liverpool. I think he's got the abilities, the technical skill, and I think he's got the pace and power to do it. Next up, it's Lucho Diaz. I do think this is his position. I would say it's Diaz and Gakpo. I think they're neck and neck right now. I think Diaz might have a little bit of an edge just because of his age and maturity, and having him as really a focal point of this attack. We saw that for his country, Colombia, in the Copa America. We saw him really be the focal point of a team that made it to the final and was very, very close to winning it. And so I do think Lucho Diaz has the engine. He's got the capabilities, he's got the skills. It seems like he is slowly ramped up back to his best. And I think we saw some of his best in this summer tournament. And so, again, I think this is a toss-up. I think this could be either Gakpo or Diaz on the left. But I'm giving a slight edge to Luch to start there for Liverpool. Now, up front, it's Darwin Núñez. I think it has to be Darwin Núñez. Now, Darwin Núñez started off really hot this summer for Uruguay and tapered off. Things got a little weird with him having to protect his family in the stands. It looks like nothing's going to happen because he played in the next game against Canada. But I think this is Darwin Núñez's spot. And I think once Arne Slot is able to get his talons in Darwin Núñez, I think we'll start to see some major improvements there, and I'm really excited to see that because Slot has a track record of fixing broken players, and I think Darwin Núñez is a little bit broken right now, or at least he was last season. Now, having said that, he had 20-plus goal involvements while still being, I would say, disappointing in many metrics, especially with finishing. So I think that's an area where Arne Slot will severely help him in the best way possible. Now, let's look at our bench and our depth. Who makes it onto the 25-man squad? Well, here it is. I'll just throw it out there. It looks like Caoimhin Kelleher might be staying. I would have expected him to be sold by now, but maybe not. Maybe every club on the face of the planet was waiting for these two tournaments to be completed. But I would have expected him to be, lineup. He wasn't playing in the summer tournament, and I would have expected some clubs to probably have this wrapped up by now. But as of this moment, if Liverpool are not signing anyone, then I would expect him to stay. On the defensive side, I think we have really solid defensive backups. Gomez, Kanate, Tsimikas, and Bradley. I mean, that's really like our whole back line duped with, Sepp Vandenberg staying in there as well. Who knows if that's going to happen, but as of now, he's training with the squad. In the midfield, we have Endo, Jones, Elliott, and Gravenberch. Again, we have really solid options as backups. I think Jones and Elliott in particular could be starters on, 80% of Premier League teams. And then in the attack, it's Gakpo, Jota, and Doak. Again, we have a full secondary lineup here that would perform pretty well. I mean, Gakpo, Jota, and Doak, that's a pretty good front line right there. Gakpo on the left, Jota in the middle, Doak on the right. And I have Doak in there because we need more English players. And I know Ben Doak is not English per se, but he does fit the category of homegrown. So I think we have a really solid player here in Ben Doak, and I feel like this is not a bad squad. Now, I think a lot of you will see this and say, if we don't sign anyone this summer, then our ownership is basically saying that we're good enough to be mediocre. And Arne Slot is probably telling Richard Hughes that he doesn't need any more talent, and Richard Hughes is happy enough to leave the squad as is. Well, I don't think any of that's true. And I don't think Liverpool will end this summer without signing anyone. This is merely a speculation, but I do think that this is actually a very good squad without adding anyone else. Where would I like to see some more additions? Well, probably on the defensive side, most notably a defensive midfielder, because let's be honest, the odds of Bajetic staying healthy all season, they're very low, I think. Now, Arne Slot is coming in and bringing in his lab coat and doing DNA tests on his players to make sure that he keeps them as healthy as possible. But I'd love to see, a few more players on the defensive side, and then maybe a winger to come in and kind of be the heir to Mohamed Salah. So here's something cool though. We know that Arne Slot is a magician at changing up tactics based on the opposition. So hear me out here. Let's say that Stefan Bajetic Arne Slot doesn't feel like Stefan Bajetic can play a full 90 every week. Okay, I get that. I think that makes sense because, he needs to keep him healthy and needs to keep him from getting a major injury. So here's what happens. Bajetic is subbed off. Trent Alexander-Arnold moves into this position here. And this is all based on, hey, what if the game's close or if we need a late goal? Trent Alexander-Arnold comes in here at, that second defensive midfield position. I'm going to put Bajetic back over here because now I think it's easy to say that this could easily be a fresh Bradley coming in, who we know is a good defender. He's got a lot of pace. So Bradley comes in as a very good right back now on this back line. And then we have Trent McAllister in that midfield. We could even say all right, Szoboszlai, and Salah. Salah might not have to run as much over there. So Szoboszlai come to the middle, and Salah go back on the right. But before I do that, I promised to tell you why I think Salah would be such a good fit here. And here's why. Salah and Nunez it seems like they have a very good chemistry together. Before Salah left for the AFCON this past season, Salah and Nunez, it seemed like every game were Nunes was providing an assist to Salah for a goal. And I think Nunes has a tendency to come back a bit and, track back to get the ball. Sometimes he's the type of striker that will come back towards the ball, face away from goal, which means that these two in the middle, with their ability to make runs, and especially Mohamed Salah's knack for goal, this could be a pretty seamless transition, like throughout the game. Fluidity, right? Fluidity for these two to switch it up on the brink. And I think that's important because Arne Slot wants to keep the other team guessing. He wants to keep them on the back foot by throwing curveballs at them no matter what. I mean, he said that in a recent interview about, hey, I'm actually kind of sad that you think I play a 4-2-3-1 because we don't play that. And so he wants to keep other teams guessing and not know how they're going to line up. And even if they do line up a certain way to start the game, it's not going to remain the same. It's going to change. So I think that's a very intriguing 1-2 combo in that kind of like 9 and 8 role. And just the ability to give teams, opposition, different look throughout the... I mean, if this were to come at you, at the 70th minute mark, and you've got Salah and Nunes in the middle here with Diaz and Szoboszlai, like that is so potent for Liverpool. I feel like that would be something really, really fun to watch. So anyways, that's what Liverpool could look like if they do not make any major signings for the first team this summer. And I think it's a really good squad as is. I don't think that's going to be the case. I do feel like Liverpool is going to make 1 or 2 big signings this summer, and I'm excited to see what Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards, and Arne Slot can do for the Reds.